going to start from the top again
Sure.
and just welcome everyone who's joining us. I'm Alex, the divorce planner. I'm a divorce prep coach who specializes in helping people prepare in advance of divorce so they save time and money, are completely organized with everything they need, do financial planning, and create the best chapter after divorce that they possibly can. I love having these conversations with different divorce professionals. Today, I have the privilege of talking to one of my favorite guests of all time, Eboney Byrne of Liberty Financial Services. And with that, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Eboney.
Thank you. I love hanging out with you as always. So thanks for having me back.
So I've met so many wonderful people in the divorce niche on all the different social media platforms I'm on, but you and I go way back, and it is, I love that we've over the years now built up so much great information that we can easily share with people. So we like to do these usually once a quarter. We'll jump on and do this. And I know for people who are interested, Eboney and I are actually talking about doing a workshop all about preparing financially in advance of a separation or divorce, which is going to be at the top of the year. So keep a lookout for that. We'll keep you in the loop. But without further ado, I'd love to jump in and start the conversation about financial prep and planning for divorce and how to rebuild after. I've got a couple of questions I just kind of want to throw at you. And if anybody who's joined us has a question, please drop it in the comments below. We will get to it today. It's going to be about 20-minute conversation. So here we go. So first of all, what is the first thing, when people come to you that you would advise that they start doing even in the earliest stages of considering a separation or starting to think about, we might be getting a divorce?
Yeah, the thing that you definitely want to look at is where's the money, right?
Yeah.
So you need to figure out what your life costs. Like, how much does it cost to live your life? And I think that's one of the things that people underestimate the most, more than anything else, because they have these assumptions about how much things actually cost. And once you start doing the numbers, that's when the truth kind of will smack you in the face. And I don't want people to freak out, which is usually why they don't look in the first place, is because those numbers can be scary, but you can't do anything if you don't have the information. Information really is power. So finding out how much it costs, what is the rent, right? What is gas or utilities, childcare if you have children, pet care if you have pets, people forget about that one, right? All of that kinds of stuff. And then you can start to plan around that, like when to make your exit, or if you're already divorced or you're separated, how to make sure you can pay for those things.
100% on the same page with you. We talk about this all the time. And I think you're right. It is an overwhelming subject. There's no shame in it. Sometimes one spouse takes care of all the finances and the other really has other responsibilities. I want to normalize that. Not everybody is doing all the stuff at the same time, nor should they, but it can make you feel a little, I have clients who feel a little behind the 8 ball, right? When it comes time, and I'm talking them through, but it's one of those things that you'd rather know the information now so that you can, as you're saying, make those kind of projections of how your budget is going to change, because that puts you in a position of power moving forward when you're going through the decision-making process during a divorce. But it also puts you in the best position to look, there are going to be financial changes, but you can kind of limit the duration that you're going to feel that pinch by taking these steps and figuring out where you are now, plugging in how that's going to change with a divorce, and then setting a plan forward.
Exactly.
So, and for anybody who's overwhelmed by it, both Eboney and I have tons of budgeting tools that you can tap in. I've got a monthly budget calculator that walks you through what to do. It's your tool for life. Just do it. Don't stick your head in the sand. So what do you find with your clients is the biggest money mistake that people are doing that really puts them in a precarious financial position after their divorce?
Well, I did this, and so I thought it was just me until I started this business and started talking to other women. It is building your budget based on support that you're expecting to have from your ex. So when I did that, I had a whole plan. It was beautiful and it was going to work out great, right? And then he decided to stop contributing. So then that put me into a major debt spiral. That was it's been very hard, right, to recuperate from, because I did not plan based on just me. And so what I'm finding a lot of times with my clients is that, and it doesn't have to be that your ex is like mean, right? It could be something happened to them. They lose their jobs. They pass away. Who knows,
Yeah.
right? So you want to make sure that when you are planning your budget, you're planning your budget based on income that you can control for the most part, which is your money. Anything else that comes in gets to be icing on the cake. I mean, let's be real, we can't always pay for all that stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
I get that. But if you can at least build your framework based on your income only, then you can make better decisions. So if there is an increase or a decrease in the income that comes in from outside sources, then it's a bonus and it's not as much of a hindrance to you.
Oh, I think that is such valuable insight. And I would say to that, there are a lot of people, spouses, who have been in a position where maybe they were actually doing the work at home, right? Or perhaps they were working part-time. And so that's got to shift in advance of your divorce. That kind of falls under the same subject that you're talking about, which is only plan on the money that you can bring in, and anything else support wise is, it's a bonus add for sure, but make sure you can live off of what you are bringing in initially.
Right.
And to that, advanced planning of figuring out, okay, I've been out of the workforce now.
Right.
How am I going to get back in? So start investing that time, brush up on your CV, get on LinkedIn, start networking with people you previously have worked with. Maybe you weren't in the workforce. That's okay. Start tapping into your community and look into your expertise and your skill set to find other opportunities, right?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to get creative. I think, there may be times where you work 2 part-time jobs in order to make it work with your schedule. I have had people do that. And I've also seen where people will, work odd shifts, right? And if you have a decent co-parenting arrangement with your ex, then, you can have that time work out so that it can work for your schedule. So you can get creative, especially if you're entering the workforce. I was out of the workforce previous to my divorce, and I had gone back, and I was making less money when I went back than I did before I had my daughter, right? It's that whole mom tax. So that's been an interesting trajectory, because sure, I was working previously, but then when I had gone back, it was at a lower income. So that changes things in your energy and all of that stuff. So definitely make sure that you're being mindful of the types of work that you're going to be doing, so that you can get it done and not be stressed out all the time, especially if you take a job just for the money, because if you hate that job, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, that's very true. I would say for anybody interested, I have in my blog, it's from Parents Magazine. I think it was 14. I think it's 14 side hustles for caregivers, or for anybody who's looking to add additional income. It could be for stuff you're already doing. And what does that mean? Say you've been home raising kids. Well, you know how scarce reliable childcare is. If you incorporate one extra kid, and you're getting an hourly between $20 to $30 an hour, that makes a big difference. And it's the need, right? There's so many other ideas in there. It's in the blog. I also want to just circle back to what you were talking about this whole idea of, if you are going to be getting child or spousal support, and kind of keeping that separate from your, let's call it your operating budget, really. What would you say in terms of, if you're going to be doing that kind of financial planning in advance of your split, trying to be as proactive as possible, what other things expense-wise should you be taking into consideration as you move forward, of knowing you're going to have to cover that moving forward? Because I think there are a lot of different line items that people tend to forget when they're being covered by a spouse.
Yeah. So health insurance, And then figuring out who is going to cover health insurance for your children if you have them. Medicine.
Yes.
If you or your children have any medicine or doctor's visits or specialties or specialists rather that they go to, therapy. Everybody's going to need that. So how are you going to pay for that? Are there programs that can help you fund those things? Those are things that people don't think a lot about. And then also repairs. If you keep the home or if you move to a different home, if you had a handy partner, now who are you going to get to make those repairs for you? Do you have a family member or friend that can help, or do you have to outsource that? Who's going to cut the grass? Who's going to shovel the snow, right? Like maybe you did that. Yay for you. I had never done those things until I was like, right. I didn't grow up doing it. So I had to learn to cut grass, like stuff like that. Or do you want to pay someone to do that? So those are things that I don't think in the scope of things. People think about childcare, clothes, food, lights, and mortgage and rent, but they're not thinking about those other fees that really can kind of eat away at your budget if you don't know how to do them, and outsourcing them. And I mean, honestly, if you're able, hire someone to come clean the house, right? Twice a month, once a month, something that will help you. I do think that we as women often try to do too much. And we will burn ourselves out because we're trying to do all of these things. Your household worked because there are two of you hopefully helping the household. So to go from all of that to one person, give yourself some grace. And if you're not in a position to hire someone to help you with those things, then it's okay if the stuff piles up a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be perfect all the time.
100% agree. I'm also really ruminating on going back to this idea of if you own a property, if you have an apartment, a farm, a home, a townhouse, whatever it is that you have been living in through your marriage and you're considering keeping it, that's something I talk to clients a lot about, right? Do you make sure that you are checking off every possible expense and taking that into consideration before agreeing to keep the family home? You're also going to want to understand your tax exposure on taking that property on your own after a divorce. This is all part of the early stages financial planning. So that you're setting yourself up really to be in the best position when you are solo after your split. And to that, with regard to the family home, something else you really want to consider, very relevant in this day and age. Can you take over the existing mortgage? Because interest rates are very different, probably for most people at this point in time than they were when you initially entered into that agreement with a lender. So these are all things you need to be taking into consideration financially before agreeing to keep a big asset expense like a property.
And also think about too, I think a lot of times when you're going through the divorce, it's a lot of emotion. And if you have it's already an emotional situation. And if you have a partner that is contentious, we'll just go with that word, then it can make every decision so much harder because you're coming at it from a stressful place. So give yourself grace if you didn't think of any of this stuff. Like if you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, holy crap, I'm an idiot. I didn't think about that, when I was going through this, and now I'm a year or whatever afterwards, and now I'm stuck. We're not going to do that, right? So this is your reminder not to do that, because it's a crazy thing. You're going through a crazy thing. So for you, whether you did it late before or you're figuring it out after, there is a way forward. Just give yourself some grace.
That's beautiful. And it's 100% true. There is no shame in any of this game. We're all trying to get through as best as possible, which is why Eboney and I are here to share as much information with you as we can, because we've been there, we get it. And there's no reason for you to dig yourself further in a hole because of kind of piling on the emotional punishment, because nobody needs to be punished. Life happens. We all do the best we can. So take a deep breath and just, start building with small steps of what you can do. Because we know this can feel really overwhelming. And as Ebony noted, and I know I say all the time, there is an emotional side to divorce and there's a business side. And being able to separate the two really puts you in the best position. If we catch you early and you're just starting the process, or maybe somebody just said, maybe we should separate, great. Take all the things we're sharing today and do them now. If it's a year after, that's okay. You can start now. If your savings was decimated, or if you didn't have savings to begin with, or there was debt prior, that's okay. Today is the perfect day to start fresh. Ebony, I know that you just launched a course, right? About rebuilding your finances. Can you tell me a little bit about it? I'm sorry, I don't have all the details, but I'd rather learn it this way. So
no, it's okay. So it's called Spend on Purpose, and it's a 6-week program. So essentially, what we're doing in there is we're walking through this, and one of the things that I start with is your mindset, right? And so we dig into your mindset. So it helps women have an opportunity to, in community with other women in the program, work on your mindset, learn how to create and set financial and life goals. Most people don't do financial goals in a good way. It's more of aspirational. So we dig into creating that, and then getting into the nitty gritty, right? Looking at your numbers, creating a budget, debt repayment plan, saving strategy. So all of that is built into that program in a way that is helpful. Because I think a lot of times when people are talking to women, especially women after divorce, we're not telling them, enough empowering things, backing those empowering words up with actual strategies. And so this gives you the tools to do that in a way that is aligned with your goals, not my goals, not, Alex's goals, like your goals that are important to you. So if it's important to you to get your hair done, we get to build a budget that supports that and then help you move forward.
100%. I love that, because I'm in the same camp. I love your message. I love, if you haven't seen, which was is crazy to me, if you haven't seen Ebony's content here on Instagram, please check it out. I'm going to be tagging her in this conversation, so you can follow that link. But I think my favorite tagline of yours is, have you told your money where to go this week, sis? And it's everything. And I love that you always break it down to this week or today, because it doesn't, your content and what you talk about in terms of your coaching, your financial coaching, is immediate. It's about the small things you can do now that have a big effect down the line. But don't worry about that big 3-year goal. Just let's deal with today. All right. I love that. I love that.
Thanks, Alex. That was nice.
Well, I've got one more question for you. We're coming up on our 20-minute time. I always like to tap out around here, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to get hungry. Here's the $1 million question. If you've left all of the money matters to the other person in your marriage, and now you're feeling kind of in the dark and overwhelmed, what are the next steps you can take at this moment?
Okay, yes, that's a good question. So we've already talked about finding out, where's the money. So how much do things cost? And then your next step is, I'm going to get a little, woo-woo here, but forgive yourself, right, for the things you didn't know. Nothing that you can't do anything else after that, right? So figure out where the money is, forgive yourself for the stuff you didn't know, and then put your big girl panties on, and then we're going to create a plan, right? So you want to figure out what is aligned for you. What do you want? Like, what is it that you actually want from your life, emotionally, financially, like all of those things, and then set about the business of creating a plan to help you get there. So that sounds really big, but again, it comes down to those small pieces. How much money do you have? How much debt do you have? How much do you have saved? And then what do you want to do with your money, right? Where do you want to tell your money to go? And then tell it to go there.
Yes, I love it. And I'm all about everything you're talking about. For anybody who's watching or listening, if you're not sure what that means and you're at the early stages of a separation or divorce, please check out. I have digital tools, what to gather, worksheet. I also have list your assets, and as well as the monthly budget calculator. It walks you through what to do. We know how overwhelming this is. Please also check Ebony's page and website. She has so many free downloadable resources and tools for you to be able to utilize as well. And with that, Ebony, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I love our conversations, and all, you know, all the information and resources that you provide are so valuable when you are really looking to start over after a divorce financially. And they're kind, you know, you're very kind about it. And that's what everybody needs more of.
Thank you. Oh, see, sounds so great.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next time on In Conversation With. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.